Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith. Today, I'm talking about The X-Files, Goblins by Charles Grant. This is from Harper Prism, and it is, of course, a novel based on America's boldest new TV series, The X-Files, created by Chris Carter. Is this a retro review? This was originally published in 94, I believe. I just looked at it. I've already forgotten. 1994. Does that make this a retro review? That's not really the question for this video, but if you'd like to answer it, feel free in the comments. So, for the too long didn't watch, I gave this, I believe, 4 out of 5. On Goodreads. I really enjoyed this. I've been on sort of an X-Files kick. You know, every once in a while, something will just trigger something in my brain, and I'm like, yeah, I need some X-Files in my life. Or whatever it happens to be. In this case, it happened to be the X-Files. And since I have all these books, I figured I'd pull this out. I've got another one sitting right over there. Mere feet away. Another Charles Grant. So, what is this book, you might ask? Well, first of all, if you're unfamiliar with the X-Files, it is a not-so-secret part of the FBI. Fox Mulder, his office is in the basement. They give him the weird cases. He's a believer. He wants to believe. He believes his sister was abducted by a UFO when they were kids. He believes in all this sort of crazy stuff. And then he's partnered at the beginning, the first episode of the TV show, he's partnered with Dana Scully, who is a scientist. She's a doctor. She's a skeptic. So, of course, you have the two clashing personalities that work well together. And every week they would go on different cases that may or may not be of non-terrestrial origin or supernatural origin. And there's a shadow government that's trying to control things. It got super convoluted for a while. There's like 10 or 11 seasons. I don't remember exactly now. 2 feature film movies and a bunch of books, comic books, all sorts of stuff. There are board games, card games. So, in this book, I don't know that it matters where it takes place in the continuity of the TV show. It is the X-Files had been shut down previously, but now they're back. And Mulder is gets a case. There's in this small town by Fort Dix, I believe it's Fort Dix, the Army base. There's been a couple of murders, similarities, and one of them, through a chain of people, leads to a senator who has the pull to call the FBI to have agents sent out to investigate. Otherwise, the FBI wouldn't care. And, of course, there's something mysterious about what's going on. Mulder and Scully are saddled with these 2 new agents, a young man, a young woman, and they're, again, shadowy forces. Early in the story, Mulder is hanging out at the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, one of those memorials, and someone comes up behind him, puts a little Spock nerve pinch on his shoulder, and warns him about shadowy things, and you're not protected anymore, and disappears before Mulder can see who it is. So you've got that going on. Skinner's out. Somebody else is in at the moment. Skinner was the assistant director of the FBI. So all sorts of stuff, all the trappings of an X-Files episode. And Charles Grant does a very good job of writing essentially an X-Files episode. I've always found him to be very good at writing these creepy atmospheric scenes, and it works very much for this story in this small town by Fort Dix. There's often a lot of fog and mist, which plays into that creepy atmospheric aspect. There's a huge rainstorm in part of the story that works into that. And Mulder he writes Mulder and Scully very well, gets their personalities down, and their interactions with these two new agents that they're sort of saddled with, I think work very well. We have a nice rounded cast of characters that, you know, in a TV episode, these would be the special guest stars and such. And as usual with the show, not always, but as usual, we, the reader, know more than the characters, than Mulder and Scully. The TV show was often ambiguous as far as the characters go. It was occasionally ambiguous for the viewers, but more often than not, the viewers had much more knowledge than Mulder and Scully. We would know for a fact that this was some sort of unnatural thing going on. Mulder and Scully wouldn't necessarily have that proof. Mulder would believe it was. Scully would point out that here's some scientific explanations for it. And we have that in this book. If you've never seen the show before, I think that you could pick this up and read it. I don't think it gets too deep into any background stuff from the show that would confuse anybody. You can simply read this as here's these two FBI agents that deal with weird cases. This is a weird case that they're on. And it is written in that Charles Grant, well-written, spooky style. So I really enjoyed this. I believe, as I said, I gave it 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. And I'm looking forward to, very soon, reading his other one. You can actually there's an omnibus that has this and his other one together in one volume. I prefer having the separate ones. I've got a few other X-Files books to read whenever I get the itch. But yeah, The X-Files, Goblins by Charles Grant, 4 out of 5. I picked it up at Half Price Books. I don't know if they're available new, but they're probably relatively easy to find used. I see copies of this almost every time I'm at Half Price Books. If you're an X-Files fan, I say it's a must-read. And there you go. So, question for this video, which is probably the same question I ask every time I review something that has to do with the X-Files. Are you an X-Files fan? Have you watched the show? Have you seen the movies? Have you read the books, the comics, any of that stuff? I was watching the show from the first episode, mainly because I wanted to watch The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., and The X-Files was on after that, and it seemed like a cool show, cool and spooky. There's a period where I wasn't watching it, so there are plenty of episodes I haven't seen. I think I probably dropped out around the time that David Duchovny left for a while. I have not seen either of the movies. I hear they're not that great. I should probably watch them and the other stuff that I haven't seen. But yes, obviously I'm a fan. If I have the books, so I have these old books that were written back during the heyday, and then I have 3 anthologies edited by Jonathan Mayberry that are relatively recent with some great authors telling some fascinating stories. I have a deck building game that is X-Files that I really, really enjoy. So yes, I am absolutely a fan. It just, not of everything. It's not a perfect show. There are some problematic, storytelling-wise, some problematic things. I don't recall anything like politically problematic. Just, I think they didn't necessarily know where things were going, kind of like with Lost, allegedly. So you had, in different seasons with different head writers and things, maybe pulling things one way and then someone else coming in and pulling them another way. But I love the characters of Mulder and Scully. I liked the Lone Gunman. There were some light-hearted episodes, which were fantastic. There were some horrifying episodes, which were fantastic. There's an episode that tells us the backstory of the cigarette-smoking man, who's one of those shadowy figures. That episode is fantastic. So yes, I'm absolutely a fan. What about you? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you not care either way? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. And if you'd care to follow me on other social media, I'm still on Twitter as of this recording, and it's at Ronan5757. On Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, I'm Eric Smith5757. That's Eric with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. And if you're on Blue Sky, I'm at EL Smith. And that's all I've got. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I've been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.